Hey there, guys. Welcome back to another episode after Leeds United drawing 1-1 away at the G-Tech Stadium, Brentford. Uh, Bit to dive into. Thought the first half was really disappointing. A real letdown. I think for a Sunday 4:30 kickoff, prime time, dinner time on a Sunday, didn't really get going. For much of the first half. Lots of throws, set pieces thrown into the box, especially from the likes of Ethan Ampadu and their fullback Coyote, who was actually quite positive, I thought, for large spells of the first and the second half. He was really driving at us, but I felt Leeds were really solid. You know, there was lots to like in terms of a defensive output from Leeds, and to be fair to Brentford, they also withstood us first half. But I must say it was a really disappointing game. I mean, when you're trying to think what to say about that opening 45 minutes, it was very much a game where it was never really on for either side. I felt that most parts of the first half, it was a game that cancelled each other out. Nobody wanted to give a great deal away, and I thought that Brentford and Leeds stood up to that for the majority, especially the first half. But you know, you look at the second half now. I thought there was lots to dig into. You know, Okafor creates and has some really good chances within the game. Kelleher makes a couple of good saves to keep Brentford at bay, because realistically, when we look at the game, I really don't really know what Brentford really caused issue-wise for us. I think there were maybe one or two good saves from Lucas Perry, but a lot of it was really self-inflicted. Some of the distribution, I'm still struggling to get my head around a lot of the time, especially from the goalkeeper throws and kicks. I mean, Strout he passes the ball to Perry and then he just sends it long. I don't understand the logic or the execution from Leeds on that side of things from now and before this game. I thought there were lots of situations where we can avoid them. But it's something that Daniel will obviously have to work on with Leeds. But you know, Leeds, I thought, especially second half, started to get going. We were the ones that were asking questions of Brentford, throwing the book at them, if you like. More often than not, quite literally, we were. But you know, both teams, there was a real old school feel to the game, quite direct at times. Thought Leeds did that actually probably better than Brentford for large periods of the game. But there was always that one thing that was lacking throughout the game till the subs came on at 70 minutes again, which, you know, it's getting a little bit ridiculous now. I'd like to see these subs on quicker. I think it's costing us points. That to me were a game that, you know, after looking at it, forget before the game, after looking at that game, we should have 100% come away with all 3 points. Leeds were the best side by a country mile. We created and imposed ourselves onto Brentford, and there were lots to like about Leeds. You know, we've got to probably take his chances a little bit more, especially Noah Okafor. I felt there was one chance that was a real threat against Brentford that I don't think they would have stopped had he have hit the target, but unfortunately just missed out and put it over the bar, which was some sort of acrobatic effort. I'm not sure how good it was, to be honest, though, looking at it afterwards. But it was, you know, there were some situations I thought we were really threatening. But as soon as Nonto comes on, things started to happen. There was crosses coming in. He was being really direct with the ball, looking for options, trying to create something for Calvert-Lewin, and almost wasn't playing up front to a degree, but was pretty much playing across the lines more often than not, especially in that final third, trying to advance and take it straight through Brentford. And obviously for their goal comes against the run of play. I was so disappointed because it felt a bit of an injustice against Leeds. Thought we were the best side up to that point. Jacobi obviously touching it in. It can happen. I'm not going to direct blame necessarily onto him, but it again comes from our situation where Lucas Perry, again, giving stupid throws away and playing it long. And not quite. He's rushing a little bit because I think he's panicking slightly. Just needs to slow down because John Henderson should never ever have had that chance to put himself onto Leeds and to put it in the back of the net. Just before we carry on, guys, after this video, if you could, please like, please follow to the YouTube channel, please subscribe. It will be greatly appreciated. And for further content, any content that you want to see, please leave below. And not forgetting to yesterday's game. What were your thoughts? Did you enjoy the match? I must admit, I really did think first half it was. You come away and you think, crikey, everybody's getting the drinks in at half time, and you're looking at people and you're just shaking your head because there really wasn't a great deal that happened for me. I didn't think Pascal had his best game in a Leeds shirt. I thought it was a little bit rough and ready. Thought it looked a little bit timid at times, a little bit off it. But as a whole, I thought even Joe Rodon to a degree wasn't on his A game. You can see his confidence slightly has dipped after that Liverpool match. But to go down to Brentford and play, on paper for me, it's arguably a tough team to play. But I thought Leeds more than handled them, especially for the goal that we scored. Really, really happy with the directness. Great ball into Calvert-Lewin, and 100% deserved what he got out of it as well. A fantastic ball from Willie. Created things. I just don't think Okafor's cutting it for me, and I'm surprised Daniel's stuck with it for so long. I don't know how much longer he will stick with the likes of Okafor because he's getting some chances. I'm not knocking that, but his general playing work rate, it's a little bit off, and we're still seeing these moments, these situations where he's attacking, gets past his man, and then the final ball it's so disappointing. Absolutely, for 17 million, I've not seen him put one good crossing yet. So I'd be 100% dropping him now. I think there's a player in there, but for how long we can wait, I don't think much longer. So when you've got Willie coming off the bench and adding the quality that he has, he's clearly focused. He's ready to go. He's worked very hard for this moment where I think he should now be starting. But will Daniel decide that it's time to do it? I don't think so. I don't think he will. Still stubborn, and it's the one thing that will, potentially cost us going forward. I still think there's going to be times where we come out of the matches and be saying, well, if he'd have done this a bit quicker, and all the ifs and buts start coming because he doesn't react quick enough. And again, there was that bit of reactiveness coming again after the Brentford match where, for me, the subs, it was screaming for him to come on before Henderson manages to put the ball in the back of the net, and it weren't coming. So we have to now start thinking, Daniel, please, can we get some subs on quicker? Because 55, 60 minutes, we're ready for him. But the lads are giving everything. Can't knock the boys. I thought Tanaka had his poorest game in a long time. Thought just wasn't on it. Didn't feel that it was happening for him really. And that was a key to maybe changing. And I thought Aronson again did okay when he came on. He's not the answer, is what I will say, but it was a better option than most that were on the pitch at the time. There wasn't really much going off, so it was always going to take a substitute like Damsgaard to come on for Brentford to try and change things, and you're willing on toes to come on for Leeds. And Aronson does not create a great deal, but he will add occasionally that little bit of something that we might have needed, for a game changer. It wasn't ideal, but that was the situation. Any thoughts, guys? Please comment below. Who was your man of the match? What was your most disappointing part of the game? And who can you see in the future coming in for Leeds to make that impact? Is there anyone on that bench that you feel deserves a bit of a go and as basically, they're pushing the way into that first team? I think the likes of Gudmundsson, especially for that penalty that was given away that prior to the offside, was never a pen. And I do wonder sometimes, especially with the referees, whether they're just wanting to get on the camera to talk now on the microphone, because straight away that was my thinking. Thought it was a really soft penalty, the way that the lads just dived. We talk about sportsmanship and the honour of the game. Well, I think it's a disgrace. Gudmundsson almost doesn't to a degree, get the right side of him, but the referee has a clear view, and the linesman on the far side was literally watching that. So I was really disappointed with the officiating yet again. I think it's not only getting worse, but it's at its all-time low. And it's been like this for far too long. We're not talking weeks and months. We're talking years. So it was majorly disappointing that we got to that point. But yeah, it won't be a long episode this, because I really am struggling to take a great deal away from the match. Thought there wasn't a great amount of things that had happened. I mean, it says everything when Brentford didn't even have a corner. So I think that was quite a telling sign on their behalf, that they weren't as good as Leeds on the day, and they were very lucky to come away with a point. I think just the fact that they were at home, they've had some really good form there, and Leeds more than handled Brentford. I don't think the table shows, in my opinion, how close both sides actually are. I think Leeds are a much better team. I think overall, likes of Anton Stark and Tanaka on a normal day, and our midfield's a lot stronger. Ampadu, who had a really good effort in the second half, where it completely smashes Kelleher's water bottle, which on another day would have probably ripped the back of the net, because it was a really good effort. Probably one of few efforts in the game that I felt convinced was going in. But there's nothing to take away on behalf of Calvert-Lewin's goal. That's 4-4 for him now. Massive for him going forward. And as you can tell, guys, I have lost my voice a little bit. I've had quite a good weekend, so that if that doesn't tell you what, I don't know. So yeah, anybody to put the comments in, guys, I will read them out. And you can see I'm a little bit desperate for a few today, because my talking points are very limited. Don't really think there's a great deal to add to the match. It was a very disappointing Sunday evening football match. Wasn't right impressed with either team, but I thought Leeds were the best side. And yeah, fingers crossed that we can push on. But we've got a really tough game coming against Crystal Palace, and that's what for me is going to be the next real challenge for Leeds. But there's lots of games coming up. You look at Sunderland; they're losing 6 players to AFCON, so it's we've got them coming, and that's in that time frame. You've then got Crystal Palace, who are going to be playing a lot of football. They've got a midweek game coming up on Thursday, and they seem to have a lot of fixtures ahead of them, which could really test their squad and see how good it actually is. But fair play to Oliver Glasner. He's done a remarkable job. And I am intrigued to see what will come of Saturday. Now, after last time against Crystal Palace, I can't see them beating us 5-1. But having said that, the threats with Sarr, the threats with Adam Wharton in midfield, really good defence. So Lacroix and Mark Gay at the back, Dean Henderson, and then obviously Mateta and Pino. There's lots of threats offensively and defensively coming up against Crystal Palace. So, Leeds really have to be switched back on. We have to be ready. Brentford was a good test. We can come away with lots of positives, lots of incentives taken into training, but to still work on lots of stuff as well. Ball retention. Do we keep playing out from the back in the way we do? I don't think so. I think the obvious target's there, Calvert-Lewin. Any team can try and work out how to mark him. Nobody can compete in the air against him, whether it's anywhere on the pitch. I think he jumps really well. He's really athletic, and that's something that will test opposition. And now the fact he's scoring as well, and he's got a little bit of a run going. That's hugely important for the team. That they've got a vocal point right at the top end. It's just part now, so don't know how long Luke's and Mitch is going to be out for. It is something though that Daniel will obviously have to assess going into the weekend. Probably won't make it, so Nonto for me has to be coming in. It's massively important that we can keep this little bit of a run going. After that Man City half time team talk and the changes we made, I think ever since then we've we've looked pretty good. You know, there's been lots more positives. There's been lots of enthusiasm around the club again. The supporters seem to have bought into this new way of Daniel's territory, because the 4-2-3-1, 90% of the time that Daniel's been here has been the most effective for Leeds to play in. But this new 3-5-2, especially with Gudmundsson having a little bit more cover, but still struggling. He's still struggling for me. So it's key that, you know, Leeds can prolong this, keep the focus and keep the concentration levels at a real high. It's just a case now that we've got to just keep picking points up. It was a good point on paper on yesterday, but I still believe that we could have took more out of the game. I thought we were worth more than just the point, but it's something that we can take into the Crystal Palace game. A really tough side, a team that can impose threats onto us. But I've no doubt that when DCL's in the side and he's fit and he's firing, that an England call up for him might not be so far away as what people think at our club, at other clubs, because he's such a vocal point, like I've said, on at the top of the pitch. And if you can just get balls into him, that's the key. Get balls into the box, and then long ball from Perry every day of the week. He's going to find a way to win that ball. But you know, if we revert back to the tic tac that I just don't want to see around the back, you know, the goalkeeper has to be more assuring with his distribution, because it's miles away. I don't get why, you know, especially when Strout passes it to Perry, why then just goes long? Why not just take the kick and get it straight up to Calvert-Lewin, and then we're not playing their team all on side when it doesn't need to happen. So yeah. Looking ahead then, like we spoke about with Crystal Palace, it's going to be a really good game, I think. I'm hoping we have a better first half, because I think the last two first halves have been a little bit rubbish, a little bit tedious at times to watch. Leeds just can't quite get going like they have done against Chelsea, for instance. We could just do with an early goal to really push us on, because I think once that goal finds its way in, I think Leeds are raring, and the confidence levels and the crowd behind them, I think everything goes for us. It's just a case that we need to make sure we're on it, we're fit fighting, and we make sure the second half we don't alter, because obviously we were better this weekend, let's say against Brentford, coming out for the second half. Thought we were a little bit more on it, seemed a bit more assuring. But it's always frustrating, you know, when you come out and you've put all that work into a first half to then just throw it away. So I'm hoping we can stop going behind in matches, because far too often this season that's happened, and it's something that I haven't not noticed, like many other Leeds fans as well. So it's a key time that Leeds make sure that they're well aware of the threats that teams come out with. They're fired up a lot of the time. Thought it was interesting that the halftime or pre-match, halftime, full-time dressing room of Brentford was released. I've not seen that yet. I've obviously seen Marco Silva do a halftime interview, and I've got to say, I think football is losing its cutting edge in terms of that side of things. Really disappointed with the way it's going. The brand itself, I think it's not focusing on what the actual purpose is. And if I was a manager, I wouldn't be doing any type of interviews at halftime. It'd be a straight now, and I wouldn't have a camera in the dressing room either. So I don't know how managers will feel about this, but I think it certainly needs questioning. It's not something I've ever particularly seen very often before. Managers always fired up at halftime. And I don't really think that it's appropriate going forward that this really happens, to be honest. So, but yeah, but like I said, guys, really, really short episode today. Don't really think there's much more to say other than on to Saturday now. Another kick-off time where I'm not particularly pleased about. It's completely dragging the sport out of where it needs to be. 8 o'clock kickoff on a Saturday is just it just feels criminal. And I don't know really where football is going, if I'm honest with you. Long term, it's too many different kickoff times that are really inappropriate. I think fans wise, you know, you're wanting to take your kids to football matches, and on a Saturday, the one day of the a two, most people get 2 days off a week. One evening kickoff like that, I just don't agree with. Kids, you wanting to promote the sport to kids, but most of them will be in bed by then, and I don't think that's fair. So, it's something that I think next season needs addressing. I don't like it, and I aren't a fan going forward of it either. So we'll hopefully be back for another episode this week. We'll discuss Crystal Palace. We'll discuss what threats they have and what threats Leeds United have as well. And on that note, thank you very much for watching, guys. Looking to hopefully have some guests on very shortly, whether it's this week or next week, and we'll be back for another one. But until then, thank you very much, guys, and marching on together.